Charles R. Swindoll quotes, "Anything under God's control is never out of control." The pursuit of happiness is a matter of choice, it is a positive attitude we choose to express. It is not a gift delivered to our door each morning, nor does it come through the window. And it is certain that our circumstances are not the things that make us joyful. If we wait for them to get just right, we will never laugh again. We are all faced with a series of great opportunities brilliantly disguised as impossible situations. We must cease striving and trust God to provide what He thinks is best and in whatever time He chooses to make it available. But this kind of trusting doesn't come naturally. It's a spiritual crisis of the will in which we must choose to exercise faith. Each day of our lives we make deposits in the memory banks of our children. God never asked us to meet life's pressures and demands on our own terms or by relying upon our own strength. Nor did He demand that we win His favor by assembling an impressive portfolio of good deeds. Instead, He invites us to enter His rest. Real integrity stays in place whether the test in adversity or prosperity. When the Lord makes it clear you're to follow Him in this new direction, focus fully on Him and refuse to be distracted by comparisons with others. The devil, darkness, and death may swagger and boast, the pangs of life will sting for a while longer, but don't worry, the forces of evil are breathing their last. Not to worry, He's risen. We cannot change our past. We cannot change the fact that people act in a certain way. We cannot change the inevitable. The only thing we can do is play on the one string we have, and that is our attitude. Joy is a deeply felt contentment that transcends difficult circumstances and derives maximum enjoyment from every good experience. If you allow it, suffering can be the means by which God brings you His greatest blessings. God is able to take your life, with all of the heartache, all of the pain, all of the regret, all of the missed opportunities, and use you for His glory. Deep, contented joy comes from a place of complete security and confidence in God, even in the midst of trial. Fortunately, God made all varieties of people with a wide variety of interests and abilities. He has called people of every race and color who have been hurt by life in every manner imaginable. Even the scars of past abuse and injury can be the means of bringing healing to another. What wonderful opportunities to make disciples! The lens of fear magnifies the size of uncertainty. Your call will become clear as your mind is transformed by the reading of Scripture and the internal work of God's Spirit. The Lord never hides His will from us. In time, as you obey the call first to follow, your destiny will unfold before you. The difficulty will lie in keeping other concerns from diverting your attention. God doesn't work on our timetable. He has a plan that He will execute perfectly and for the highest, greatest good of all, and for His ultimate glory. I cannot even imagine where I would be today were it not for that handful of friends who have given me a heart full of joy. Let's face it, friends make life a lot more fun. Learning more truth is a poor and cheap substitute for stopping and putting into action the truth already learned. Choose to view life through God's eyes. This will not be easy because it doesn't come naturally to us. We cannot do this on our own. We have to allow God to elevate our vantage point. Start by reading His Word, the Bible, pray and ask God to transform your thinking. Let Him do what you cannot. Ask Him to give you an eternal, divine perspective. The size of a challenge should never be measured by what we have to offer. It will never be enough. Furthermore, provision is God's responsibility, not ours. We are merely called to commit what we have, even if it's no more than a sack lunch. Vision is the ability to see God's presence, to perceive God's power, to focus on God's plan in spite of the obstacles. Peter must have thought, "Who am I compared to Mr. Faithfulness, John?" But Jesus clarified the issue. John was responsible for John. Peter was responsible for Peter. And each had only one command to heed: follow me. John 21:20-22. Noise and crowds have a way of siphoning our energy and distracting our attention, making prayer an added chore rather than a comforting relief. God presents the Sabbath rest as a shelter we can enter. Hebrews 4:1-11. God never calls His people to accomplish anything without promising to supply their every need. When God's in it, the job gets done. God has called His creation to find satisfaction in a personal relationship with Him, and stop trying to manage the world by conforming it to our expectations, and to allow Him to govern His creation. He continues to say through an ancient Hebrew worship song, "Be still and know that I am God." Fortunately, Jesus didn't leave the disciples or any of us without hope or direction. Where we fail, Jesus succeeded. The only one who is able to recognize and follow His purpose from the beginning was Jesus. He alone was able to obey consistently and please God completely. And His divine mission was to make a way for each of us to do the same. While I wholeheartedly believe in choosing to approach every challenge with a great attitude, I don't mean that we should abandon authenticity and live in fantasyland. Jesus kept it simple. The lesson wasn't complicated. I speak, you believe my word, your son will be fine. We complicate what God has made simple by seeing the world through human eyes. We want to see in order to believe and presume that our limitations are His. When I have a wrong attitude, I look at life humanly. When I have a right attitude, I look at life divinely. Neglecting to ask God's counsel, neglecting to seek God's timing, you step in to handle things. And by, you've got a mess on your hands. People do not care how much you know until they know how much you care. Life, as God intended it, enables us to live above the drag of fear, superstition, shame, pessimism, guilt, anxiety, worry, and all the negativity that keeps people from seizing each day as a gift from Him. Choose to view life through God's eyes. Whatever we do, we must not treat the Great Commission like it's the Great Suggestion.